A girl nervously prepares to announce her club activities to a boy who wonders how he ended up in this situation. She stammers an invitation to play house with her today, which completely confuses him. She suggests playing a childhood game, while other girls wonder if they are going to do something inappropriate, leaving the boy even more bewildered. Kuroya Daiki returns to his hometown after many years away to begin high school. He explains that he lived in Tokyo from kindergarten through middle school graduation because of his parents' work. He feels bad about leaving his friends in Tokyo behind, but is glad to have one close childhood friend in his hometown. He thinks about his childhood friend Kajino Kyoyuko, who is a year older than him. Recalling how kind she was, he decides that moving back is worth it and finds the club room she belongs to. He finds the room for the Imitation Games Club, which is marked by a simple duct tape sign, and prepares to greet his friend. He opens the door to find her making various sound effects while playing with a toy robot and a stuffed animal. He stands still as she finishes her game and turns to notice him standing there. Both of them yell in shock at the sudden encounter. She panics and asks if he is there to shut down her unofficial club, admitting she is currently its only member. They stop and recognize each other, speaking their names in disbelief. The two stare at each other as they process their unexpected reunion. Kyoyuko blushes and stares at Daiki in disbelief as the realization of their reunion sinks in. She begins to laugh strangely and says she cannot believe someone is still using that old nickname for her. Daiki starts to panic at her odd behavior and tells her to wait a second as he backs away. He thinks back to the version of Kyoyuko he had pictured in his mind, who was a bright and cheerful girl. His idealized image of his childhood friend shatters as he faces the reality of how much he has changed. Daiki claims he has the wrong person and tries to run out of the room, but she calls after him to stop. She blocks his exit and insists that she is the same Kyoyuko he used to play with before he moved. He breaks down in total shock and asks her what could have possibly happened to make her end up like this. Kyoyuko welcomes him to her club and acknowledges that a long time has passed since they were together. Daiki stares at her with a weary expression and notes that he has many things he wants to ask her. She admits that she has changed significantly since those early days and wonders where she should even begin explaining. She explains that she became very lonely after he moved away and eventually lost the ability to interact with other people at school. Kyoyuko fidgets and worries that it was arrogant of her to try starting a club, but Daiki tells her he never suggested that. He is overwhelmed by the weight of her confession and finds the situation incredibly heavy. Daiki begins to blame himself, wondering if his departure was the actual cause of her current state. Daiki considers the possibility that he is actually the one at fault for her current state. Kyoyuko explains that the room used to belong to the drama club before it was disbanded, so she is allowed to use all of their props. When Daiki asks about the purpose of the Imitation Games Club, she expresses her excitement to explain it to him. She mentions that it is not an official club yet, but she wants to gather people who want to take something back and turn it into a real club. She explains that the goal is to return to a childlike heart and reclaim the youth they lost as children by playing the games they missed out on. She points at him and declares that is the club's purpose, but Daiki asks if she shouldn't be enjoying her actual high school youth instead. The two stand across from each other in the storage room filled with boxes and tables. She yells that she is trying to settle the score with the past because she cannot enjoy her youth right now, making Daiki wonder how she can be so forward-looking about being backward-looking. She admits she is bad at talking to people and is always alone in class, so she was hoping someone with the same goal would show up. She suggests she can talk to him because she sees him as someone beneath her who admires her, and Daiki notes that her personality has completely changed. She thanks him for coming to join the club, but he immediately tells her that he is not actually joining. She breaks into tears and asks him why he is refusing to join. He says he cannot join an unofficial club and tries to leave, but she clings to his leg and begs him to stay for at least a month for old time's sake. She insists that a woman from his precious memories is begging him, but he finds her more like a clingy woman. He agrees to stay just for the day, and she excitedly prepares to announce the club activity. Daiki stands ready in a white coat and stethoscope, though he seems unsure of the situation. Kajino lies on the floor with her arms crossed, questioning why they have resorted to playing house. Kajino clarifies that they are playing make-believe to reclaim the youth they missed, assigning him the role of the doctor while she plays the patient. Daiki remains skeptical and suggests there are better activities they could try. Kajino argues that as the Imitation Games Club, they must start with the most popular game for kindergartners or they will be failures. Daiki asks if she actually went out and surveyed children. Daiki decides to play along and greets Kajino-san, asking her what medical problem has brought her in today. Kajino claims that she is destined to die in 3 years and asks if he can save her. Daiki finds the scenario bizarre but proceeds by suggesting they check her heart area. Kajino interpreted his request literally and pulls open her jacket to reveal her chest, asking if he needs to check her heart there. The two of them stare at each other in a stunned, silent panic at the sudden escalation. Daiki apologizes and tries to pivot to checking her arm instead. Kajino accepts the apology, admitting she was the one who invited him to do this. Kajino speaks up again, ready to offer another part of herself for the examination. She decides checking her heart is too embarrassing and lifts her shirt to offer her stomach as a substitute. Daiki watches in shock as she exposes her midriff for the checkup. When Daiki presses the stethoscope against her skin, Kajino lets out a startled cry. Daiki tells her to stop making weird noises, while Kajino explains that she didn't realize the metal would be so cold. Kajino suddenly demands they switch to a physical exam and shouts for him to perform palpation. Daiki looks on, completely lost by her request. Daiki clarifies if palpation means using his bare hands, and Kajino tells him to just get on with it until he reluctantly agrees. Daiki announces he is starting the physical exam, and Kajino nervously gives him her consent to proceed. Daiki's hands move toward Kajino's midriff as she continues to hold her shirt out of the way for him. Daiki makes physical contact with her stomach, eliciting a sharp intake of breath from Kajino. Daiki is taken aback by the warmth and softness of her skin, wondering if girls are always this different from boys. Daiki tries to suppress his wandering thoughts by reminding himself this is a club activity while deciding to continue for a bit longer. Daiki asks if she feels any pain in the area he is touching, and Kajino tells him she is fine. Daiki shifts his hands to a different spot and asks for her reaction, but she says she doesn't know how she feels. Daiki loses his balance and lunges forward, pinning Kajino against the table as his stethoscope falls away. The moment triggers a memory for Daiki of a time when they were children and a similar accident occurred. In the flashback, a young Daiki asks a crying Kyouko-chan if she is hurt after they fell down. Kyouko runs away to tell Daiki's mother that he pushed her down despite his protest that it was just an accident. Back in the storage room, Daiki remains on top of Kajino while she lies there with her clothes disheveled. Daiki snaps out of it and asks if she is okay while offering a frantic apology for the mishap. Kajino covers her eyes and warns him that she might tell his mother about what he did today unless he agrees to join the club. Daiki is left with no choice but to give in to her ultimatum. He officially agrees to join, feeling like he has been half-forcibly made to join the Imitation Games Club. Daiki leaves the storage room feeling exhausted and wonders what is going to happen from this point forward. A new girl in athletic gear suddenly appears in the hallway, presenting a distracting sight. Daiki is completely caught off guard by her presence and shouts in surprise. The girl Kamugi Hata from the track and field club apologizes for him having to see such an unsightly scene and introduces herself. She asks if he is a member of the club too, and he awkwardly introduces himself as Kuroya. Kamugi realizes he is the one in the male lead role, though he just confirms his name is Kuroya. She asks what the club is actually about, acting very flustered, while claiming she is not super interested. Daiki explains that the president said it is a club for reclaiming one's youth, which leaves Kamugi in a state of shock. Kamugi starts associating the concept of youth with being lewd, making Daiki wonder what is wrong with her. She asks to start with a trial membership, and Daiki decides it should be fine to let her in without asking the president. Daiki calls out to Kyouko-chan, while Kamugi follows behind him, acting very nervous. He announces to the club president that they have someone here who wants a trial membership. Kajino turns around in total shock, wondering if this is really the place where lewd youth activities are happening. Kamugi is fully convinced that she has stumbled upon a lewd club. Kajino is just excited that there are now 3 members, which might be enough for the club to survive. Back in middle school, Kamugi had a sexual awakening after finding a racy manga owned by her brother. Ever since then, she has viewed everything through a perverted lens, even finding a suggestive meaning in plugging in earphones. While taking a break from her track activities, she happened to witness Kajino and Daiki's doctor game. Because she sees lust in everything, she misinterpreted their make-believe as something far more adult. She decides to join the club so she can legally participate in what she thinks are lewd activities. She views this new path as a sort of perverted pilgrimage. Kamugi eagerly asks Kajino what kind of play they will be doing today. Kajino is caught off guard by the terminology and asks what she means by play. Kamugi quickly backtracks, telling herself that she needs to maintain her wholesome outer appearance. She tells the others that it was nothing. Daiki asks if it is really okay for her to leave the track club or if she plans to juggle both. Kajino notices her mask and suggests they postpone the meeting if she is sick, but Kamugi insists she is fine while hiding her true thoughts. Kamugi keeps her secret that she only joined track to vent her sexual frustrations. She uses the mask specifically to hide. Kajino presents a very long set of trial membership papers for Kamugi to sign. Kamugi signs them immediately, eager to get to the club activities. Kajino announces that, for today's activity, she wants to play a game called Daruma Sangakuranda. Daiki suggests adding a punishment game where moving means death, leading Kamugi to wonder if she has joined a death game instead. Kajino timidly admits that she has never actually played the game before. Daiki is shocked to hear that she missed out on such a basic childhood experience. Kamugi asks why she chose this specific game. Kajino struggles to explain herself while Komugi points out that it is an incredibly common childhood game. Komugi remains skeptical, assuming that everyone must have played the game at least once in their lives. Kajino begins to look genuinely distressed as she realizes how much of a normal childhood she missed. Komugi feels bad for her and tells her to stop being so sad. Deki explains to Komugi that Kajino truly has no idea what a normal childhood or youth is supposed to be like. He points out that she is completely unfamiliar with even the most common games. Deki calls her Chan, making Komugi realize that her lack of youth is exactly why the club exists. Kajino wallows in self-pity about dying without ever experiencing anything, but Deki tells her she is being dramatic and asks Komugi to help comfort. Komugi interprets the situation as a childhood roleplay. Komugi agrees to start right away despite not fully understanding, while Deki confirms they are playing the game. Deki suggests they decide who will be at first as Komugi begins to unzip her jacket. Komugi pulls her tracksuit jacket down, revealing her tight t-shirt. Deki is stunned by her appearance, questioning if she was always built like that. He stares at her and wonders how her clothes work or if they represent some kind of fourth-dimensional space. Komugi mentions that staring so much is embarrassing, causing a blushing Deki to turn away and apologize while she wonders if he is that into her body. Kajino stands before them with a Daruma doll headband on. Kajino explains she found the accessory in a costume case while Deki asks Komugi if she is going to keep her mask on. Komugi lies and claims the mask is part of her training. Kajino turns her back and prepares to begin the game. Kajino begins the rhythmic Daruma chant. Deki and Komugi both bolt forward at the start of the command. In the middle of their sprint, Komugi's hand accidentally touches Deki's. Both are shocked by the touch and Kajino catches Komugi moving when she turns around. Komugi lets out a startled shout and laughs about getting caught. Deki takes the blame for the mistake and apologizes, but Komugi insists everything is fine. Deki notices that Komugi is sweating an abnormal amount and asks if she is alright. Komugi reflects on the rugged feel of a man's hand before offering to wipe up her sweat. Deki wonders why she is having such an extreme reaction. Kajino asks to play one more round and the others agree. Komugi continues to misinterpret the situation as something lewd. Komugi tries to focus her mind and tells herself she will do her best. Kajino signals the start of the next turn and tells them to go. Deki concentrates on the game as he prepares to move. The two players end up in a very cramped space together as the game pauses. Komugi looks at Deki, her head filled with perverted thoughts about their proximity. Deki feels the pressure of the situation and becomes visibly flustered. Deki apologizes for his hand being in a weird place. Komugi tells him it is okay since the room is narrow and they are stuck in place for the game anyway. Komugi is now convinced that this is a lewd game. She starts to doubt if she will be able to keep up with the intensifying developments. Kajino announces that she is going to start the game again. Both Deki and Komugi are overwhelmed by the tension, while Komugi worries that she cannot handle the club and that her sweat will never stop. Komugi realizes she has been outpaced by Deki and resolves to use her track club leg strength to touch Kajino first and protect her pride. Kajino gives the command to go, and both Deki and Komugi dash forward with great speed. Komugi slams into Deki from behind as they race toward the goal. Deki is startled by the soft impact against his back, while Kajino begins to turn around to catch them. The two of them freeze in place, trembling under Kajino's watchful eye as she tries to catch them moving. Kajino realizes that a surefire way to win is to simply never restart the chant, leaving the other two stuck in a foul and awkward position. Kajino claims she is only joking and turns back around while a flustered Deki demands she start the chant immediately. Komugi finds herself unable to withstand the physical pressure of being pressed up against Deki. Komugi tells Deki that she cannot continue the game in this state while he looks back at her in confusion. Kajino starts the next chant and the two sprinters lunge forward again. They charge ahead as the rhythmic chant continues, pushing themselves to the limit. The distance between the players and Kajino closes rapidly during the middle of the phrase. Kajino finishes the chant and turns around to see who has reached her. Deki loses his footing and crashes directly into Kajino's chest, with Komugi right behind them. The three of them end up sprawled on the floor in a heap after the sudden collision, and Komugi complains about the pain. Deki lies face down on the tiles while Komugi notices sweat marks on his back. Komugi apologizes and asks if everyone is okay, realizing with a start that her sweat left chest prints on Deki's suit. Deki feels completely overwhelmed by the proximity and thinks to himself that he might be killed by the physical situation. Kajino threatens to tell her mom about what just happened while Deki begs for mercy on the floor. Deki is standing in the club room when he notices a woman he doesn't recognize with her back turned to him. The woman turns around and bluntly asks Deki if he is a member of the club. Deki nervously confirms that he is a member while wondering who the woman actually is. The woman mentions that she heard this room belonged to the drama club, and Deki explains that the president repurposed it for the imitation games club. She asks if the club is official, forcing Daiki to admit they are short on members and have no faculty advisor. She accuses them of using the room without permission, which leaves Daiki without a good defense. Daiki is startled to see what looks like a pack of cigarettes and trips as he tries to react. He picks up the box and discovers it is actually just cacao cigarette candy. The woman bursts into tears and explains she brought the candy because her lunch bento didn't fill her up. Daiki watches her outburst and wonders what is wrong with this person. A well-endowed female teacher with a hidden secret stands in the room as a new chapter begins. Daiki brings a cup to the teacher, who thanks him for the service. She takes a sip while crying, admitting that she was trying her best to be a cool teacher. The teacher lets out a satisfied sigh, and Daiki finally accepts that she really is a member of the staff. She proudly claims she memorized all her students' names and faces, but she mistakenly calls him Shiroya-kun. He corrects her by saying his name is Kuroya, which shocks her because she used flashcards and study sheets to learn the names like a student. The teacher notices something small on the floor and stares at it. She identifies a collection of pencils and beads that were popular years ago. Daiki tells her the club president brought them in. She becomes extremely excited and nostalgic, recognizing the sticker book and iron beads immediately. She quickly switches back to her professional persona and warns him that such things aren't allowed in case another teacher sees. Daiki notes that she clearly likes them herself. The teacher turns her back to him, preparing to leave. She winks and tells him to keep everything that happened today a secret between them. Daiki simply agrees to her request. She pulls open her jacket to reveal even more snacks hidden in her inner pockets and asks if he wants those instead. Daiki is baffled by where she is storing all the candy. The teacher begins to cough and choke, making strange noises that cause Daiki to ask if she is okay. Kajino walks down the school hallway and wonders who is inside the club room with Daikun. Kajino walks in on Daiki and the teacher while they are having an argument about a drink. Daiki protests that she was the one who told him to make her drink it, while she says she can't take it all at once. Daiki starts to greet Kajino while the teacher continues to cough. Kajino shouts at the two of them not to turn her club room into a place for sexual activities. The teacher recognizes Kajino as Mitsuno-san, while Daiki frantically explains that he was only giving her some tea. Kajino immediately drops into a formal doja and apologizes for her rude assumptions. Daiki is amazed at how quickly her attitude shifts. The teacher explains that she was just curious about the club and apologizes for intruding, but Daiki feels like she is putting on an act. Komugi rushes into the room, panicking about the sexual activity she thought she heard mentioned. Kajino doesn't seem to mind the chaos, while Komugi wonders if they are all going to participate in the activities together. The teacher asks for permission to join the group, and Kajino agrees before starting the day's club activity. Daiki walks through the school hallway and thinks that playing hide and seek in the building is exciting. Daiki is the seeker because he lost at rock, paper, scissors. Kajino restricts the hiding area to this floor and sets a 15-minute time limit. Daiki checks a classroom but finds it empty and moves on. He looks around carefully for any sign of a hidden person. Daiki spots a figure behind a curtain and smirks, knowing he has found someone. He tells Komugi that her legs are visible from under the curtain and mocks her for picking such an easy hiding spot. Daiki calls out to the person behind the curtain, knowing they are there, but he notices the figure isn't moving an inch. The curtain reveals a terrifying figure wearing an anatomical mask showing bone and muscle, causing Daiki to scream in fear. Daiki flees down the hallway at top speed to escape the scary figure. Kajino giggles while pressing herself against Komugi, celebrating their successful prank. Kajino thinks that their plan was perfect and that Kuroya-kun fell for it completely. The two girls are hidden inside a cramped locker where Komugi apologizes for sweating so much, but Kajino tells her it is fine. A sudden shout erupts as someone is discovered in their hiding spot. Daiki finds Kajino and Komugi together and asks them what they were doing to each other. Daiki decides to move on from the two girls and continue the game. He continues his search for the teacher, wondering where in the building she could be hiding. He enters a classroom and is surprised to see someone sitting at his desk. He sees a girl with glasses and braids eating snacks and wonders why she is sitting at his desk. He notices the cigarette candy on the desk and realizes he has found the teacher. Daiki confronts her, realizing she wore a wig to disguise herself as a student for the game. The teacher cries as she realizes how strange it is for a 28-year-old to be dressed as a student. Daiki is surprised she is only just now coming to this realization. The teacher cries about her behavior despite being an educator, while Kuroya suggests her actions show she was just taking the game seriously. She quickly denies that his interpretation is correct. She confesses that she forgot her skirt in the club room and is currently not wearing one. Kuroya is completely shocked and wonders how such a mistake is even possible. The teacher breaks down in tears, fearing that if anyone finds out she will be fired and her life will be ruined. She desperately asks Kuroya what she should do while he stands there in a state of total disbelief. Kuroya heads into the hallway to retrieve a change of clothes for her, as she requested, wondering how he got into this situation. He realizes she is following right behind him and asks why she is not staying put. She explains that if she is caught alone there will be nothing she can do to protect herself. The teacher reminds him of their secret alliance to ensure his help. Kuroya sighs and agrees to walk in front of her to block her from view as much as possible. Kuroya offers her his jacket to help cover her front. She gratefully accepts the offer as they prepare to move through the school. Kajino searches the hallway for the pair, noting that the time limit for the game is already up. Kuroya and the teacher huddle together nearby to avoid being spotted. They successfully hide as Kajino walks past them. Kuroya lets out a sigh of relief while they remain pressed close together against the wall. The student guidance counselor Mr. Anahara suddenly appears and asks Kuroya if he has seen Agami-sensei anywhere. Kuroya denies seeing her, but the counselor notices that the person hiding behind Kuroya has an unusually short skirt. The teacher panics silently as she clings to his back. Kuroya tells the teacher to hide herself better, but she insists that he needs to do something about the situation immediately. The teacher's lack of a skirt is evident from behind as she presses her lower body against Kuroya's back to stay hidden. Kuroya is confused by a strange prickly sensation against his back that feels like lawn grass. The teacher groans softly as she remains huddled behind him. A student arrives with the paperwork for Mr. Anahara. The counselor instructs Kuroya to follow him to the staff room, leaving the boy startled. After the counselor departs, Kuroya informs the teacher that it is safe now. He suddenly realizes he is holding something and asks himself what it could be. Kuroya gasps in total shock as he discovers a pair of white underwear has slipped into his hand. The teacher collapses onto the floor in a daze, muttering about being fired for indecency. Kuroya calls out to her in a panic. Through her tears, the teacher insists that today's events must remain a complete secret. Kuroya quickly confirms that he understands.